Hey everyone, nice to meet you all again. By way of introduction, my name is Ian. I'm the product manager for the compliance group here at GitLab. Joining me today is Nate Rosendich, the EM for the compliance group here at GitLab. And yeah, as usual, we're going to go through our planning commitments for the 17.11 milestone. If you've been following us for the past couple of videos, this shouldn't be a surprise to you. But for those that are just joining us, we will just be going through the work that we'll be doing for this milestone, as well as digging into some of the engineering work that's involved in each of them as well. So I'll be going through the priorities list, and then I'll be handing it over to Nate right after to just talk through some of the work going into these initiatives. Awesome. So without further ado, let's kick it off. So this is the priority list that we have at the moment, 8 different priorities for 17.11. And yeah, I guess just to set the stage is going to be quite a big one for the compliance group for this milestone because we'll be looking to release the first 3 items in particular for this milestone under the guise of custom compliance frameworks. So at the moment, if you've been following the video series, this again shouldn't come as a surprise, but we've been actually making a lot of changes under the hood to how compliance frameworks work in GitLab. Currently, you can obviously create a compliance framework label via the Compliance Center and use that to scope policies in order to enforce compliance. We'll be making big changes to it with the 17.11 release, where we'll be including a new field when creating compliance framework labels called requirements. And using requirements, what users can do is that they can really dig into the compliance requirements for each of the frameworks that they do follow, and they're able to map compliance checks or compliance controls, as we're going to call it moving forward, to these requirements so that they're able to really get into the details of the types of requirements that they do need to follow for different compliance standards, laws, and regulations, as well as ensuring that what they need to follow is, exactly mapped to certain settings within GitLab to ensure that, they're able to show that evidence to either their auditors or just be able to monitor compliance themselves. And wrapped into that, obviously, as we mentioned, is the ability to map those controls to the requirements. And there'll be 2 big changes that we'll be making to controls as well. So firstly is external custom controls. So we'll actually be allowing users to track the compliance status of things outside of GitLab via an API call. So they'll be able to actually attach a control to a requirement, which doesn't necessarily have to be any setting within GitLab, can be things outside of GitLab. And we'll put that in the mix with things that we also offer out of the box in GitLab. At the moment, we have about 6 or 7 controls that we offer out of the box, mostly revolving around separation of duty controls as well as 2 security scan controls. But by the end of this milestone with the release, what we're hoping is that we'll have about 50 out-of-the-box controls, and we hope that will actually cover basically comprehensively end-to-end the entire DevSecOps pipeline that we have here at GitLab. We might be missing a few here and there, but obviously from 7 to 50 is quite a big jump itself. So we are really looking forward to be able to give users more options, as well as a more comprehensive library of controls and the ability to map that to requirements, which I think is something that users will definitely be looking forward to. So that's the big push that we have for 17.11. And some of the other items that I'm going to be going through relate to that as well. So, for example, if we move down to priority 4, we're actually going to be releasing a toggle for custom compliance frameworks. So, because the way that we're going to be doing requirements, that will restructure some of the data on the standards adherence report tab in the Compliance Center as well, where we'll be removing standards, and any existing standards at the moment will become compliance framework labels, and we'll be introducing a new column for requirements. So just to get folks used to the new information change, we'll be including a toggle where they're able to toggle back to the old experience. The toggle will be set on default to the new experience, where we would show the requirements column and it'll be removing the standards column and everything will be in the framework column. But just to sort of get everyone used to the new information change, we'll be having a toggle there where people can just go back to the old experience, go to the new experience, see what's changed, get comfortable with it before we remove the toggle in a couple of milestones time. In number 5, what we're doing is that we're providing a small enhancement to the framework creation workflow as well. So at the moment, if you want to attach projects to a newly created compliance framework or even an existing one, you essentially go to the projects tab of the compliance center and you select all the projects you want to apply to a compliance framework, and then essentially apply it from there. However, we wanted to obviously provide an option or at least some guardrails for users that were going to create a compliance framework for the first time as part of the compliance framework creation workflow. So within that, we will now have the option where, if a user is already sure of the projects that they want to connect to a compliance framework, they will get that option as part of the workflow. It's an optional step, so obviously they can skip it if they are not sure yet, but that having the step there at least gives them some guidance in terms of, oh, all right, now I know that actually for compliance frameworks to work and my associated controls under my requirements to work, I need to attach it to a project. So again, that's a small enhancement that we're bringing to the creation workflow. Number six is associated with custom compliance frameworks as well, where we'll be allowing users to actually upload templates, so uploads of files into the requirements creation workflow where, if let's say they've got a massive compliance framework they want to create with, I don't know, maybe 20 requirements, 30 requirements. That's going to take quite a long time for them to create all of that, plus have all the associated controls. So what we'll do is that we'll enable them to have the ability to actually upload a template into the creation workflow and have that all mapped out based off of a template format that we will obviously provide as part of the upload template ability as well. So that will obviously allow users to easily create a framework via structured data that they already have outside of GitLab, and just be able to port that in and create a framework label that way with all the requirements and associated controls. And then finally, we've got 7 and 8. So for 7, what we have there is essentially completing the consolidation of tables for streaming audio events. What this will do is that it'll help unlock the ability in some of the other streaming destinations that don't have this yet because we couldn't provide this before the work was completed, but essentially give them the ability to filter through the audio events via streaming. And for example, things like AWS and GCP, they don't have this ability yet, but with the release of this initiative, they'll be able to now have filtering of audio events because of this. And finally, we have an engineering initiative around improving of our compliance group metrics as well. Awesome. So that's the full priority list. Before I hand it over to Nate, I want to walk through some of the things that we have changed from 17.10 and what we talked about last time in order to accommodate this big push to release custom compliance frameworks in 17.11. So the three big changes that we have, firstly, is that there were a couple of minor compliance center improvements that we were planning on working on for 17.11 as a holdover from 17.10. We've moved that over to the next milestone so that we have the capacity required to push out custom compliance frameworks and all of the things that I've just mentioned there as well. Group compliance overview dashboard. So we had started some of the work on that in the previous milestone as well, at least preparing for what that might look like. We've decided to also move that planning over to the next milestone, just so that we have some time to look into custom compliance frameworks. And then with the sales initiative, again, as well, we've actually paused that till 18.0 so that we have the capacity to look at those things. And for these final 2.0, I've covered this off in the priority list, but we've essentially just moved it to the bottom of the priorities because, again, we want to be able to prioritize custom compliance frameworks and make sure that that does go out in 17.11. All right. That's the priority list there. So I will now hand it over to Nate to chat through the work that's going in for each of these. Nate, over to you.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, so I guess as mentioned, the big priority and big push is for custom compliance frameworks and all of these other initiatives that relate to it and help push it across the line. And quite simply, the milestone goal for 17.11 is to complete and release all of these. And so we are, as you can see, well on our way with a lot of them. The progress is very, very close. And probably the only one that to call out is with our metrics. We just want to add more metrics in for tracking of these custom compliance frameworks so that we can make sure that we're delivering the right experience as well. Yeah, not too much else to add on from that, so keep it short and sweet.
Awesome. Great. If anyone was playing custom compliance frameworks bingo, you probably have won something right now, just based off the amount of times we've mentioned it. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining us for this milestone update. And yeah, it was a really exciting one for us here in the compliance group. And we're looking forward to the release of custom compliance framework. So thanks everyone, and we'll catch you at the next one.
Catch ya.